So, so by the time I was 6 years old, I had spent a very long time going from place to place, inventing and changing and inventing and doing things, everything from carriages to broken bones to helping people to creating milk services to figuring out that people needed calcium, or and then and having people doing a test run where people got calcium or milk regularly, and they had lots much less broken bones and actually were very healthy, and then having hiring nutritionists to look after my employees and just people and do other stuff. Anyway, after a lifetime of building and going from place to place, building mines, factories, and everything else, I had over 6,000 holdings, of which I kept 3,000 for myself privately. I hired management teams, and even that was a lot. So I thought, well, maybe just have 1,500. And I hired another management team for those. And that was even too much. I already kind of had management teams, but I was putting more management teams on top of them because I was like, oh, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I thought maybe 150 companies or whatever holdings. And even that was a lot. I just wanted like a 400-foot ship, a 70-foot ship, and a private island. And I just wanted to relax. Anyway, no matter what, though, my life kept getting complex. Even with my 150 little private holdings, I went out and I asked for little things like cereal, and vitamins in the cereal, and I had a lot of good ideas. I still had a lot of good ideas, and little groups would and with my little there was the rest of the world, which used to be mine, and then there was my little private building companies, which I was like, let's go, let's try this cereal, let's try and make cereal or something. And I was like, let's try and do this other stuff, and let's try. I was having them do like little random outside side projects, like better cereal and a couple other things, like some better canned food, stuff like that. Just random little other things. Like I had my old private huge holdings, which I was like, I don't want to deal with that. Someone else goes and deals with that. Anyway, and then there was my little small companies, which I was like, okay, cereal, juice, different things, just having them do random projects at my behest or whatever. I was like, do this for me. Let's see about that. Run that test. Do that, and just trying to get better, healthier workers, or better, healthier people around me, and stuff like creating like dental stuff and all that other stuff, or paying someone who knew about dental to deal with dental stuff. I forget exactly how that all worked. But anyway, though, I kept on creating companies, and I kept on gaining in companies, and it was quite dizzying, and I didn't really want the complicated life. Anyway, though, but at 3 years old, I owned most of the world, and most of the companies had been mine, or were mine, or were working on one of my ideas. So, but I didn't really want all that. I just wanted a nice little private little life. But I had a lot of great ideas, and a lot of those ideas ended up being very good ideas that really helped the world, like calcium cereals with daily amount of vitamins, and just a lot of things which really became very popular. In fact, bestsellers. Um, anyway, and creating things like radio stations, TV, all that stuff. I was just paying for these groups to go out and do this stuff because I thought it'd be neat. I thought the world needed TV and radio, and why not? So anyway, so I just kind of kept like having other people deal with my stuff. But I had a great amount of old factories. Like a lot of them were steam factories or textiles, which used to be mine. I had built the buildings and gone through this huge like financial like kind of maneuver where basically I almost went bankrupt or taxed like a country to the hilt, building all these roads and building all these things where I had to actually pull extra people from each town to go and build a road or go and build a factory. But it ended up being like a textile factory, which pumped out clothes like no like there was no tomorrow, and where literally whole countries were clothed with clothes, and different kinds of clothes. And we started working on things like polyester and lights and stuff like that. And basically, I was creating everything that everyone calls civilization. And I was rich enough to do it and rich enough to pay for it. So anyway, it was happening. And, at 6 years old, basically, everything was starting to come together. And civilization was popping up, and moving along quite nicely. And so I just wanted to relax at 6 years old, 7 years old, and just chill. And I was thinking about, I had a few extra things like casts, like those, like the eagle and the circle. By the way, the swastika was an added thing. The original was just an eagle and a circle. I don't know how that. I guess maybe I asked for the swastika to be added later on, but it's not. It was originally in there. Originally, it was just an eagle and a circle, which was my symbol, which is old, old, old. Of course, so is the sickle and the hammer. Because I was a builder and I had done farming. But those were my old days, and I didn't really want to deal with all the farms. I mean, farmers know how to farm, and I didn't want to deal with it. It's just too much for me. So I let other people deal with it. Maybe that was a mistake. I don't know. Anyway, though, but so basically, I'm creating things like cereal and all kinds of stuff, and grinding of grain and all that. Like I did that before, and then I was kind of tired of it and just wanted someone else to deal with that. So anyway, anyway though, so at 6 years old, I was basically the richest person in the whole universe, galaxy. Planet Earth, and had changed the planet Earth so much that it is literally unrecognizable from when I first started. With cut hair, shaven people, and modern day vehicles and things, nice roads. Anyway, and I continued to do that over the years, growing up to about 9 and 10, 11, 12, and basically, even as a young adult, I was still adjusting things and thinking of new things like anti-lock brakes, airbags, stuff for my cars. So, and people were basically just, technically I owned the companies or had owned the companies. I just was like, yeah, that's too much for me to worry about. If you want to worry about some of the things I'm thinking about, go ahead. But otherwise, I don't really feel like building cars anymore. I've already, that's why the Rolls Royce and all the different engines. I was like, yeah, I'm only going to build one body. And then we'll put a bunch of engines inside of it. And then all that. And the original bodies were made of wood and then later on metal. Anyway, though, but, it's just, I had been this mammoth person, which is ridiculously great inventor. And then, and getting things like thinking about things like the Hoover Dam. I mean, realistically, at first, it's like, financially. But then over 100 years or 50 years, it's like, it's a great idea. And what I think I did it for is I wanted to set up an aluminum mill or something like that. And aluminum needed a lot of power, and we we're going to use the power. I didn't want to use coal anymore because coal is expending resources, and I thought, well, why not do electricity? And the type of wire that they had to use was like a carbon thingy. It wasn't really wire. Wire would melt or something like that, or something blah blah. So they had to use a special kind of stuff that would actually be the heating element that would actually heat up the aluminum and heat it up to molten. And it's one of those things I think where you can't shut it off. I don't know. It wasn't good to shut it off or something like that. Anyway, though, but the point was that that basically all those foundries were basically mine, and I needed power to power the foundry. So I needed something that would produce that much power, and I was thinking, I think we might have done nuclear power at first, but then we switched over to water power because I just liked water power better. A lot safer. And anyway, though, it's a long, complicated story, and at one point in time I wrote a will, or I had a will dictated where I was like, yeah, if I die, blah, blah. I hadn't been married yet. I was only a child, but I thought maybe someday I will get married or have a child, so I thought I would get ready for that. Anyway, there's a book with all those details in it and all kinds of other stuff that very much charts my early adult humanoid life or whatever, where I was changing things, creating doctors, creating psychologists. That's why Sigmund Freud worked for me, and a lot of other people worked for me, because I was like, well, I want to get into this whole psychology thing because no one's really done it properly, so let's go ahead and try and do it properly. So I hired Sigmund Freud, which really didn't know anything about anything, but by so many years doing it, he eventually figured some things out, which I don't know. And then other people took a stab at his work, or took over his work or whatever over the years to kind of figure out psychology better. So anyway, it was just basically creating all these buildings and everything, and thousands of factories that were eventually outdated, and new factories were built in their place, and the old factories became nice houses or or orphan shelters or homeless shelters. So anyway, it's a long, long history, and I got to wrap it up because YouTube doesn't like 10-minute videos.